Freshwater Collaborative, bringing together all the resources of the Universities of Wisconsin system, because guess what? All of our campuses, all 13, are on a lake, river, estuary, or bay. If you think about the expertise, why would we not pool resources to deal with some of the greatest challenges of our time around fresh water? They're significant. Congressman Ryan and I talked last Friday, at former Speaker Ryan, and he was talking to me about, can we host next week the Jordanian ambassador to the United States? Here's a landlocked country, and what are their greatest challenges? Aside from some of the issues that are happening in the Middle East today in terms of the refugees and a number of other concerns they have, in their top three, King Hussein talks about water security, water shortages. It's life and death for a lot of individuals. We can talk about that in a lot of places in the world. We take it for granted being here in Milwaukee, but this is vitally important. Medical college, some of you have heard me talk about this before. This one's kind of near and dear to me. As a 3-time cancer survivor, I'm very happy to be able to say we recently admitted our 3rd cohort of diverse undergraduate students to the Medical College Cancer Center research program. So we've had almost 50 students now participate with significant funding, and each one has a Medical College of Wisconsin faculty member, mentor, and a lot of the guidance from our undergraduate research program. This is the generation that will solve cancer, and here we are putting students into that pipeline. Most of these students have gone into either medical school, graduate school, or other areas of deep study to advance cancer research. Partnerships. So that's what an engaged university does in significant ways, collaborating with educators. Second area is the industry partnerships. Again, scratching the surface. We have today with us our Chief Innovation and Partnership Officer, Brian Thompson. Many of you know Brian. Brian, a hand to know, and you can connect always with Brian about any types of further work. The things that Brian is engaged with and we've helped create is with Marquette University, the Northwestern Mutual Data Science Institute. We recognized the Northwestern Mutual last week as a Regent Business Partner Award because of their significant investments in this. Similar types of things that we've been focusing on, the work to have more talent in the pipeline around data science and artificial intelligence, but also the work in terms of advancing artificial intelligence and data science and solving industry problems. So we are in the process of expanding not only the academic institutions that are participating, but bringing other business leaders into this. Microsoft AI Co-Innovation Lab, you've probably heard about. This builds on the work of our Connected Systems Institute with Rockwell. Microsoft was an early innovator, early investor, and we've got a dozen other companies that have really helped put this together around Internet of Things, connected systems, and now, today, we're in the very much in the space of working with Microsoft, Titletown Tech, and Rockwell to flesh this out. Next week, June 25th, we'll have the grand opening of our Connected Systems Institute, and we'll have a lot of Microsoft executives. What's the so what here? 60 engagements a year with small, medium, and large businesses around AI applications. In-house, but also bringing artificial intelligence much more to scale for these companies. An example might bring this home, and that's a little bit of a pun when we think about bringing things home, which I'll come back to. We work with Regal Rexnord in this program, and Regal Rexnord employs a lot of our students, participates with many of you in probably different ways. They have a lot of the machinery in an Amazon warehouse just south of here. In fact, they have 5 miles of machinery in the Amazon warehouse, and our AI Co-Innovation Lab with Regal Rexnord is working on a lot of the optical arms and a lot of the technology that helped develop that. So as a result of this work, the so what is you get your packages at home a lot faster than you otherwise would. You're welcome. So that's the applications of AI here, bringing it home. Patents and licenses, I mentioned earlier, 215 patents, 47 license and option agreements. Let's talk about the impact of this. Lower right-hand corner, you see, well, actually kind of in the middle of the page. This is in the red, Dr. Karen Frick, who is one of the leading memory loss experts in the country. Very fortunate to have been able to hire her from Yale University, where she was an amazing researcher, but it was a dual career situation, so it worked very, very well for us with her husband in chemistry, and she's in neurosciences. So Karen has developed, coming back to the licensing, patenting, Karen has developed a novel approach to estrogen replacement for women who've gone through menopause that experience memory loss as an onset to Alzheimer. So the challenge in this area is that a lot of times hormonal replacement treatment has significant side effects, and so she's developed a technology and application of treatments that don't have those side effects, which is incredibly important and has received multiple rounds of funding through estrogenics therapeutics. This is an example of how when you bring together the research and the engagement, and you want to make a difference. Again, back to innovation, economic prosperity, this is really critically important. And for those of us with family members with Alzheimer's, this is one of the breakthrough types of technologies that can make a fundamental difference. And we have them all over the place in a lot of different healthcare types of research settings. The final component is around engaging with our community, building on the access and the student volume and the research. You have a powerful combination to engage in a significant way. So on an annual basis, UWM has almost 5,000 students that are involved in undergraduate experiential learning activities in the community. 50,000 hours across our campus in terms of service learning types of activities. Design Solutions, our community Design Solutions, has been involved with dozens and dozens of different applications in the community, including one of the pictures there is our chemistry building they actually helped design. It won recently the Mayor's Design Award for Urbanism Redefined, and it's also known as Science on Display, and I encourage you to take a walk through and do a visit to our chemistry building. It's one of the latest and greatest. Probably one of the best examples that I can give you of some of the hands-on types of engagement occurs around our nonprofit IT program. This program's been around for a decade, and we've had 170 organizations, all nonprofits in the community, that have needed help with their websites, with their apps, cybersecurity, data storage, other technology applications. And every semester, our students will engage with business mentors. So Direct Supply, Northwestern Mutual, GE, a number of companies have engaged and have business mentors on these fronts. There's, in the Harambe neighborhood, 53206 zip code, there's a Dominican Center. And Dominican Center does a great job uplifting the community, providing a lot of resources, safety, quality of life, health, number of different resources that they have. They had participated in nonprofit IT a couple of times, but last year they were burglarized and they lost a tremendous amount of the resources, particularly their technology resources. Where did they turn? They came to UWM, and our students went out and engaged with them and recreated a lot of the data storage, provided a lot of the technology resources, and brought them back better than they were before. And the leaders at Dominican Center say, we couldn't have done it without you. The students went above and beyond. It has been, for me, an incredible pleasure to have 20 different times that I've sat at the end of every semester and heard what the students have done, and you hear it from the companies. So it's a really neat way, if you think about the experiences that these students get, it's not just classroom learning, but they take it into the workplace and they build a portfolio. And we're talking about a student population that has almost 100% placement because of their experience, but just as important is what they do for the nonprofits in our region. And it brings tears to your eyes when you hear, and many folks that really do just have significant emotion around their experiences, because it's so powerful in terms of what's happened. So these are the types of engagements. And again, just hitting the top of the waves here. So over the years, UWM has over 210,000 alumni. The video may say over 200, but it's 210. In fact, we have graduated in the last 15 years north of 75,000 students, 5,300 a year on average over the 15-year period. And the students largely come from here. They stay here, they fill the talent pipeline, and they rise to not only the levels to fill talent pipelines in significant ways, they go to the top in various ways. They become, as Jackie Frederick, who became the CEO president of not just the blood center, but created the largest blood banking operation in the world, or was it second largest blood banking in the world when it became Versity? Jackie, help me out here. Fifth largest. Okay, I'm sorry. I want to give more credit, but it's significant. But this is Jackie Frederick, a graduate, a Panther exec MBA program. We can talk about in the acting world, the Willem Dafoe experience, that when we had Willem back to spend more time on campus, what a thrill that was for our students and the community to be able to engage with Willem. CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, is a Panther, and the first place he landed from India was in Milwaukee, and he learned an awful lot about urban needs and really developed a soft spot for understanding the needs of technology and making them accessible for everyone. And he talks in his books and in other places, and I've had the pleasure of engaging with him a number of times, and he talks about how important Milwaukee was for him to appreciate the needs for everyone to be able to access technology. And that has been a guiding value for Microsoft. And I think that the democratization of technology is something that Milwaukee helped shape. But we can talk about one of the first Navy admirals, female Navy admirals, name is escaping me, Maggie Rakowski. Anyway, so one of the first Navy female admirals, and we can go through and think about, they rise to the top. Today, Police Chief Jeffrey Norman, Panther. We can go to the Fire Chief, Aaron Lipsky, Panther. Sheriff Danita Ball, Panther. I can keep going. It's amazing when you think about where our Panthers go. It's the talent pipeline and depth. But I'd like you to hear directly from our Panthers in terms of what helped them, what shaped their experience. Since 1956, more than 200,000 students have graduated from UWM. Our alumni have had a profound impact on our community and our state. But you know what? It all started in a classroom on our campus. Many of these alumni still feel an enormous sense of gratitude to their favorite professors and their advisors. These are their words.
From the first day of class and throughout the years that followed, you've continued to inspire me to greatness.
Even now, a decade and a half later, I still share lessons and stories learned in your class.
You made people see their potential and strive to do their very best. I will never forget you, and I'm approaching 75 years old.
I'm so grateful for the way you pushed us to think deeper, laugh louder, and never settle for anything less than our best.
You were an encourager.
Over the years, I've been working to pay that energy forward.
Thank you for putting up with all our nonsense.
Thank you for tutoring me all those Wednesdays.
I would never have been able to graduate had it not been for you.
You saved my future.
As a first-generation college student, I didn't know the ins and outs of higher education. You helped me.
You saw my potential, and at 23 years old, I finally learned I was smart.
When I walked across the stage to receive my diploma, I had to smile and remember you and your kind words that helped someone that nobody thought was worth saving.
Thank you for leading me to my dream job.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks
for believing in me.
Well, thank you. There's a lot of generations there, and they wouldn't be here and there without a lot of the support that you have provided. Many of you have been significant partners. Many of you are administrators, you're leaders in our community that have recognized and really challenged UWM to do more, and we've tried to respond. And again, I say all the time, the thing that I'm the most proud of is over the years that I've been at UWM, how we've redefined the campus to break the barriers, to break the definition of a university that is defined by the physical boundaries, but rather to engage in our community, to engage and make a meaningful difference across the state and well beyond. We couldn't do it without you, and I'm very delighted to have you as an audience for me to be able to talk about UWM today. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you've got. Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us in your final weeks in the job. We're now happy to open up the floor to questions.
Hi.
Hi.
Lovely presentation, and I've got a master's from UWM,
Great.
so I'm very appreciative of what you do. Can you talk a little bit about how the material sciences degree, how the decision was made to drop that major, because I know that that was critiqued recently.
Yeah, there's a lot of press about the material science and engineering. In a nutshell, we have 11 programs in engineering. Of those 11, material science and engineering is at the very bottom in terms of enrollment size compared to the top programs. You can imagine the top programs are in computer science, software development, which have between 450 and 500 students. Material science, in contrast, went from 48 a decade ago to today 23. We have $850,000 deficit in that program. The overall College of Engineering is about a $3.5 million deficit. So we're redeploying areas just like you would in probably a business or any other education sector. Where do you put your resources? You redeploy into a growth area. So that's the core issue of what that decision is about. I can tell you, so you've heard me, the retrospective, the look back and the look forward. I can tell you that there will be other decisions, not just at UWM, but at other academic institutions where we simply have to really look very carefully at where are our growth opportunities, where is there demand for employers, where are students wanting to go, and where are they not. But the good news about material science and engineering is that in either the certificate programs, graduate programs, we want to bring many of those skills and provide some of that same area. But with 24 students in a program, and that's across all 4 years of the program. That's not graduating 24 this year. That's across, so basically you're talking on average 6 students per year in the program. So that's just where from a rational perspective it makes sense to go down that path. Thank you.
Hi. Just wanted to say I'm a big fan of UWM. Thank you for being here. I had my original question was, is any of your federally funded research being affected by research cuts? But then I looked at the numbers, and I just have to say this out loud. Johns Hopkins University, which has 30,000 students, receives $3.32 billion in federal research. UWM, which has 22,500 students or so, please correct me if I'm wrong, receives $7.9 million. So I'm wondering, like, where does the good research funding come from? Where does we have a good circle of UWM being, we're a good research university, we're a research university. Where's the funding for UWM research come from? And it seems like, could we get more, right? If other schools are getting so much more, could we get more? And tell me about what's going on currently with the school.
So we currently get, and Brian, you've, as the past Research Foundation president, today all in federal funding is about $55 million. Brian, is that? So roughly $55 million. So it's quite a bit more than the 7 or 8 million that you heard. And we would not be a Research One university without being at that level. We're on the leaner end of research universities because of that. And yes, there have been actual cuts to our research in 2 different categories. One is the indirect rate, the federal indirect rate, which on average at UWM is between 30 and 35%. At other campuses, it's well north of that. We're a very lean research university. The Rockefeller Institute has documented the 200 universities, top research universities, and we're in the 90th percentile in terms of leanness. So we're very administratively lean. But the funding indirect rates have been cut, and some research grants have actually been stopped. So I have, in our Zilber College of Public Health, a research faculty came up to me 3 weeks ago and said, my $1 million grant for suicide prevention, over, done. And we can talk about a lot of specific grants that have been cut. More fundamental concern to me is a lot of our scientists who are typically proposing grants because it's a long cycle, they're simply not advancing the grants because they know right now the direction that many of those will go. So this has profound implications because of the types of examples that I showed about when we talk about technology transfer, commercial startups, health, environment, advancing manufacturing companies, all those types of things that are affected. And let me just put this in perspective. Name in the United States or globally a strong regional economic area that doesn't have a research university at its core. If you go to Silicon Valley, that came out of Stanford, a lot of the origin of that. If you go to Route 128 Boston, you're talking about MIT, Harvard, all the things around the Cambridge area, concentration. Austin, Texas today, Miami, Florida, what's happening, it's incredible in terms of the tech sector growth, but it's usually a research university that's driving that. If you go to Stockholm, Berlin, Singapore, there's a lot of technology transfer. That's what I'm concerned about in terms of the impact of the federal research funding that we're seeing. So that's the story. So, hey, Jeff.
First of all, congratulations to you and your colleagues at UW-Milwaukee for applying the Wisconsin idea. As a UW-Madison grad, I see you doing a better job than my my alma mater. This is a question based upon M cubed and the presentation that you and Dr. Martin gave us. What my takeaway was that you had to hire tutors to help young people read at the college level. We had a candidate for superintendent of public instruction who told us that 5% of MPS students can read sufficiently to participate in post-secondary education. So in the context of speaking the truth, doing what's right, and asking forgiveness, what is the truth about reading in Milwaukee as you see it, on the receiving end of young men and women who are coming into your institution who can't read?
So one of the reasons that we started M cubed was to actually have concentrated resources so that we can take the expertise that we have, the knowledge in our School of Education, but also other partners that we have, and really try to make a difference at that earlier age, to your point. Because if you're a college, 2-year or 4-year, you can't, when a student is 18 or 16 or 20, depending on when they enter, you can't make up for any deficiencies that are there. And if it takes resources, it's sometimes too late. So this is why we've invested and we've engaged at a much earlier stage. And one of the things that's important to do that is to talk about the saliency, the relevance of education. So working with high schoolers, but especially middle schoolers and earlier, having tours in our School of Freshwater Science, having students come to our campus. So we have 5,000 students a year that come from MPS, that come onto MATC or UWM and learn about careers, learn about academic programs they're actually learning from, which motivates them to realize, if I want to get this type of career, if I want to be an engineer, nurse, doctor, I better get serious about my studies early on. I will say that whether it's MPS or choice or charter, and we're the largest authorizer, UWM is the largest authorizer of charter schools in the state of Wisconsin with 18 today. And we also participate with a tremendous number of choice schools, great partners. When I say this, it's not specific to any one sector. I can say that the K-12 system, you want the truth, we need to do significantly better. And within that, I can also say the facts, in terms of the data, is that in Wisconsin, we have the most significant gap between black and white high school graduation rates in the country. We're 50th out of 50. And Hispanic versus white, we're 43rd in the country. So we have to pay more attention and do more for the communities in this state. And we're, of course, here in Milwaukee. And this is when I talk about many people, when I came in to the job, said, oh, don't try and fix, don't try and address, some of those issues are intractable, they're unsolvable. And I went the opposite direction, and this is what I give credit, just like when we took on the Moonshot for Equity, Miami and Memphis were going to do that. We partnered with Milwaukee Area Technical College, Carthage, University of Wisconsin, Parkside, and UWM led the way to address this. So we're engaging, we're not running away, and we'll continue to focus on that. Thanks, Jeff.
Good afternoon, John Franke. I don't have a question, but a couple of weeks ago, Mary McCormick said, isn't it about time for a limerick? I don't know if you had the chance to know my father, Harry Franke, but he was briefly in the legislature, 6 years, 1950 to 1956. And he once told me that the thing he was most proud of for his time in the legislature was getting through the legislation that created UWM.
Love it.
Which required fighting the forces of that other university in Wisconsin. And I also know he wouldn't have been able to sit here with a name like Mone and not be thinking about a limerick. It's all about partnering to Chancellor Mark Mone, helping UWM cut through the baloney. So as he guides those Panthers towards meaningful anthers, let's support him. He can't do it alone.
I would love to have that. If you could share that with me, I would love to have that, John. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I came up with another question. The issue of international students, how will that affect UWM?
So if we had the ballpark right now, our international students, we have about 1,300. We're anticipating, right now, what we know is that our enrollments are down 25 to 30% international. We're anticipating we may be down as many as 400 to 500 this fall. Now that could be a good scenario. So those are the actual numbers current as of today. Let me give you an example. Last fall, we had, so this is not specific to any current administration, I'm talking about last fall. The U.S. State Department issued a significant reduction in student visas from India. They had been, during the pandemic, growing the number of visas for students to be able to study from India in the United States. They went to pre-pandemic levels last year out of the blue. Kaushal, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we learned about this in August. Classes start, depending on which program you're in, late August or early September. We had very little notice that the number was going to go down probably 30-ish% overall. Our financial hit from that, there was one other small factor, it was about $1 million of this, but $9 million hit. And largely that landed in the Lubar College of Business, our College of Engineering and Applied Science, and surprisingly, maybe to many of you, the Zilber College of Public Health. Those are the three areas where we had significant concentration of Indian students. We have more students from India than any other country. We have students from all over the world, but that is significant. And right now, we're looking at some pretty challenging numbers on the international front. Other campuses have even more exposure, just like research. Yes, we have colleagues at universities that have 3, 5, 100 million and some that are in the billions. We don't have that exposure. I'm kind of, I wish I had that in some ways, because a lot of times what you have there is an endowment. So for example, how can Harvard say no to the federal funding? Because they have, was their endowment $52 or $53 billion? But they cannot support for a long time the NSF, NIH, and other types of funding. That is going to be very, very difficult. They also have, and other universities have, great exposure on the international student front. But I come back and I say, what are the consequences? What are the impacts? The examples in terms of the talent, and the workforce shortages, and kind of the conundrum that we face. Colleges, you can hear people say, oh, it's demography, but you're employers, or you're very much affected as those close to employers. We all have shortages. I say we're running out of teenagers, and there's a lot of truth to that. I joke sometimes, if the UW had really had foresight, we would have UW Dallas. We'd have UW Miami. We'd have, what I'm saying is we'd have talent from students, we'd have outposts. But the reality is demography in the United States, just in terms of the baby boom rebound and things like that, we're just demographically in a similar situation. Nathan Growy wrote a book called Demography and the Demand for Higher Education, if you ever want more detail. The Northeast is the worst demographically for both employers and colleges, in part because there are so many colleges and there's fewer bodies. The Midwest is the second worst. So we're heading for an even more significant demographic decline. So if you're an employer or an educator, you're concerned. We work with many county executives. Josh Schoeman is in Washington County, and he will share data that talks about the significant difference between the high school graduates today and the kindergartners today. And the numbers are going to be wrong. I'll say that up front, so don't quote me, but the general principle is right. He's talking about in the neighborhood of, we just graduated 350 students, and we've got 150 or 175 coming in. So this has been going on for a while. So you're having these significant steps down. So this is, and it's not just Washington County. This is the trend line that we're seeing. So we're going to see, my prediction consolidation, shakeouts. Higher education is in for some significant challenges. And this has been trending this way for a long time, but just certain events have pushed us into a sharper edge on some of those. So